Jump off that exhausting hamster wheel and into balanced living with Dr. Marissa.
Promise you joy in the mystery.
Dr. Marissa, also known as the Asian Oprah. Her mission, to be a beneficial presence on the planet. Her purpose, to be your personal advocate to live, laugh, love, learn. Her life motto, don't die wondering. Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And welcome. You are tuned into Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, NBC News Radio, CNBC News, and NBC Sports, AM 1050, FM 102.3, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, Amazon Music, Audible, iTunes, Spreaker, and more. I am Dr. Marissa, your hashtag positively opinionated host, here to make sure that you start your day with as much hope and happiness as possible so it'll last the rest of the day, because I'm on a happy 88 mission. 88 million more happy people in the next 8 years. And I know Monday, not usually your favorite day. Or actually, I should use rainy days and Mondays always get me up. Hashtag UP, unlimited possibilities. That's right. I'm here to get you to try to drink my rose-colored Kool-Aid and celebrate that it's Monday, because you're never going to get it back if you don't celebrate it. And I hope you had a great weekend. I did. I'm going to start the show today in my What's Up Doc section with balancing out all the bad news with good news. And I had wonderful on locations, and two in particular I wanted to bring to you. They were both unveiling ceremonies. The first was the unveiling of the first sculpture commissioned by the City of Santa Ana's Arts and Culture Office. And I got a little soundbite with the actual artist of the sculpture and a little footage that will certainly make you smile. And the significant thing about this story is the corner that they're beautifying with this sculpture was formerly known as a bad corner where illegal activity happened. And so as part of the city's beautification project, it was a wonderful thing to cover. And then a beautiful unveiling of another memorial garden in the city of Norco. And some of you may remember that I did cover the Pearl Harbor ceremony in the city of Norco a few months back, and it was nice to be remembered, especially by the mayor, who I did get a soundbite with. And it was a beautiful ceremony to honor the fallen 13, the 11 U.S. Marines and 2 other service members slain in the suicide bomb blast at Kabul airport in Afghanistan last August. The Flower and Stone Garden pays homage to the dozen men and 1 woman, featuring pictures, inscriptions, American flags, and plaques. Several Marines who served with the fallen, you will see in my footage. It included a color guard ceremony as well as a flag raising. And you'll see one of the most beautiful sights I've ever seen. There were 5 women, I believe, on horses with giant flags standing there the entire ceremony, making for such a memorable backdrop for this particularly heart-opening ceremony. Enjoy.
Activities that we didn't want to see happening were happening there. But today, we get to unveil a beautiful piece of public art. So just to go a little bit into it, the art was created by Larry Gonzalez, who's a Santa Ana resident. His sculpture's imagery takes inspiration from indigenous Aztec and Nahuatl peoples and language that includes words that we still use today. The plaque on this art has a tribute to David Vasquez, who's a fellow parishioner of mine over at the Episcopal Church of the Messiah, where my wife Wendy and I were married. And it was there that he devoted his life to preserving, translating, and teaching our future generations the Nahuatl language and the culture.
En esta mañana estoy muy orgullosa de estar aquí con ustedes porque quiero decir que Jesús Santana es un gran amigo mío y yo sé que la comunidad aquí.
Morning, Stu, and thank you to all the residents of Santa Ana for coming out and making it out to see the sculpture unveiling. My name is Larry Gonzalez Rivas. About a year or two, I was selected to be by the Arts and Council Committee to be the first statue art recipient. So my hope is that we use this as an opportunity to fund the arts in a greater degree going forward. And my motivation here is to build something that's lasting, improve the community, make it interact with the public, and inspire, as well as allow people to have a more visually appealing corner. So you will see that some of the colors on this will turn what used to be a dark corner in the city into a bright blue gem that will hopefully maintain and improve the community appearance from here going forward for the next 10, 20, 100 years. So
Countdown.
Good morning, this is Dr. Marissa. You know me as the Asian Oprah, reporting live in Santa Ana. I have the artist of this amazing piece of artwork behind us. Could you introduce yourself and tell me why you're here?
hi, Doctor. My name is Larry Gonzalez Rivas. I'm here to inaugurate the ribbon cutting ceremony statue grand opening for our coyote statue. It's a representation of Mesoamerica, and it also has a couple of the poems from one of the old Aztec princes, Nezahualcóyotl, which is a fasting caller coyote, featured at the base of the statue. So it brings together poetry, art, ancient roots that are native to North America, and we're really here to celebrate that, as well as try to improve the appearance of the community, which is first and foremost through art and the public interacting with it.
Beautiful. Do you feel proud right now? You're getting an Aztec blessing?
Yes, I mean, of course, right? Yeah, of course, yeah. Incredibly happy finally to be done. It's a lot of hard work, but I hope it encourages and inspires others to continue doing the same thing. So, you know, the Santa Ana Arts Culture Committee is committed to try to bring in more of these out here. And I was lucky enough to be awarded the first one. I didn't want to fumble the ball, so I put in all the work I could. And hey, man, here's the results after 2 years. It's a 2-year process. It takes a year just to get money. So
Beautiful. Well, you did a great job. Congratulations.
yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you for coming out.
Peace
And thank
in.
you.
Good afternoon, Norco, visitors, guests. I'm Mayor Brecknick, and I'd like to thank everyone for coming to the dedication of the Fallen 13 Memorial Flower Garden Square.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light?
Ashley Lopez. Special thank you to the owner of the Norco County Center, Rio.
This is Dr. Marissa reporting live. You know me as the Asian Oprah. I'm here with another mayor. This is an important mayor of Norco who I've met before and never got a soundbite with, but he's always at very meaningful events. And I have to say, my heart is wide open right now with this beautiful memorial. Could you tell us what's going on today?
Well, we're having the dedication of the Fallen 13 Memorial Garden here in Norco.
We did it. You did a great job.
And
you did a great job.
Our volunteers and our veterans and our business community all coming together to support this.
Yeah, and it's beautiful. And one of your own was one of the 13.
Absolutely, yes.
Norco. Yeah.
That, it hits home.
It does. It does. And boy, the women on horse that was like the most amazing shots I've ever seen.
Incredibly trained horses.
Yes. In the wind.
In the wind with the flags.
Yes.
With the traffic
beautiful.
Behind them.
I know, that was amazing. Well, thank you so much for what you
You're
do.
more than welcome. So good to visit with you again.
Yes, of course. And remember this: peace in.
And
You got to do your
peace
thing.
out.
Peace out. Exactly. World peace.
Help me out.
Through inner peace. World peace through inner peace. Thanks so much, Mayor.
So good to see you again.
You too.
Thank you.
And you know that I'm all about peace. You know that I don't like war. But until we have world peace, it is very important to honor those who did give their lives to serve our country and protect the democracy that I hope we continue to have in our country. These things are especially important because for those of you who don't know, I was actually born in Canada and I became an American in the first ceremony after 9/11. So I do take my citizenship and my home country of choice seriously. And when we come back, it's one of those questions that people think about and talk about and assume that money can buy you happiness. Now, for those of us who don't have oodles and oodles of money, you may have thought to yourself, well, just let me have a lot of money first, and then I'll tell you if I'm going to be happy or not. Well, when we come back, my guest is a man who did have a lot of money and who will, in his own words, tell you how money did not bring him happiness, but actually what does now. His name is Gerard Powell. He will be back as my spotlight interview for the rest of the show. That's when we come back on Take My Advice. I'm Not Using It. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, the station that leaves no listener behind.
Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And we're back. You're tuned into Take My Advice. I'm Not Using It. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on CNBC, NBC News, and NBC Sports radio station KCAA, AM 1050, FM 102.3, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere, including my YouTube channel, where if you free subscribe, you'll get an alert at 8 a.m. every weekday morning that a new show's about to drop, as well as watch and listen to the show and all the rest of my 620, I believe, 3 shows now over the last almost 9 years, and as well as my red carpet playlist with interviews with lots of TV, movie, Olympic, New York Times bestselling authors, and more. So enjoy those. And yes, my interviews with Halle Berry, John Travolta, and Quincy Jones. And now, as promised, my spotlight interview with Gerard Powell, answering the question, does money bring you happiness? Enjoy. Today, my guest is someone that my big brother, Reverend Dr. Michael Bernard Beckwith, asked me to bring on because of his fabulous work right now in Costa Rica. And he's actually someone that I met years ago, and kind of, I have a photographic memory, just no memory stick lately. But it was wonderful to reconnect with him. He is a successful conscious entrepreneur. Gerard Powell is a motivational speaker, thought leader, and spiritual influencer whose path has answered one of life's most interesting questions: does money buy happiness? He's also the CEO and founder of the Rhythmia Life Advancement Center, located in Costa Rica, a revolutionary rehabilitation center that offers clients a money-back guarantee if they do not feel any different before leaving the rehab. Please welcome to the studio, Gerard Powell. Hi, Gerard.
Hi, Doc.
Or I'll call you Jerry from this point on, because that's how I met you. So happy to have you on the show. And as with most of my guests, the first question I ask, I have a friend. She does not have an answering machine. She has a questioning machine. And when you call her, it says, "Who are you and what do you want?" So, Jerry, who are you and what do you want?
I hope I can answer that well. But again, I'm Jerry Powell. My story is, I guess, unique to me, as everybody's is, but mine had some interesting twist to it. And so much as I was born in a pretty middle-class kind of upbringing in a very violent household with... I had a very, very hard time starting out as a young guy, and I didn't do well in school at all. I ended up getting kicked out of school.
Okay.
I got kicked out of a couple of schools and eventually quit. Last grade that I completed was the 11th grade. Then I got in some legal problems, some criminal problems, and before I was 20, I had been to jail. So I came out, and I thought, it was at a time when college educations meant everything, and having any kind of legal history was terrible. And so I had no education, no money. I didn't have rich parents. I'd been to jail.
Not a great start according to the American dream.
Yeah, it wasn't an optimal. A betting man would have passed on me, right?
Yes.
And but I read some books, and I always, for some reason, knew that I knew something about the universe that other people didn't, and it was just a strange kind of knowing. But I read some of these books, putting some of these things into action, and the next thing you know, I was still in my 20s. I was a millionaire. I bought my first airplane in the 20s.
So hold on. People are going to want to know what book you read, because you went from like rags to riches. So was Napoleon Hill one of them, Think and Grow Rich? It wasn't?
I only read two books. I read The Magic of Thinking Big.
Uh-huh.
I read another book called Psycho-Cybernetics, which was by a plastic surgeon.
Interesting.
I read both those books, and I sort of believed it.
Uh-huh.
And I believed it because I didn't have a choice. There was no choice other than to believe, because my options weren't many at that time. So I went through a bunch of different things, but I hit my stride, and I started manifesting, and I made my first $1 million, and then I liked it, and I thought, I'll make some more, and I made some more, and made some more, and made some more. But the whole time, I knew this one thing about the universe, but at the same time, I was an unhappy, frustrated, mad person.
Okay. So was it conscious that you thought that money would bring you happiness? Was it a conscious thought? Yeah, that was like, okay, I had a rough start, but I'm going to be happy. I'm going to make oodles of money and find happiness. So was that like a subconscious, conscious?
Yeah, well, actually, it was like I sort of said, I got shortchanged here, but I make up for it over here.
Okay, all right.
And I tried my hardest to really do. and then what started happening is I'd watch my bank account and it'd go like $1 million, $2 million, $4 million, one plane, one house, two planes, two houses, and this process kept going. And in my, I took a company public and made $100 million, and then I lost all that money, and then did it again 2 years later, and sold a private company for $90 million. Wow. And like I was like ordering pizzas.
Wow.
Like, I'd start these things, and I'd have this system that I'd use, and then boom, boom. So I'm like 40 years old. I have 26 cars, 6 houses, and not little houses, big houses, a couple planes. I have stacks of money in the bank because I cashed for the last. I have a drinking problem. I'm injecting 5 sticks of Demerol a day, which is a very clean heroin. I have a wife of 17 years. I got 2 great kids. And I was a bad dad and a bad husband. And I was honestly suicidal. I was like, I did all this. I bought all this stuff. And, you know, my gun barrel was rusty. It was in my mouth every other day.
Wow.
I was truly suicidal.
Wow. And there's more where that came from. When we come back, more from Gerard Powell answering the question, can money make you happy? Here on Take My Advice, I'm Not Using It, Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, the station that leaves no listener behind.
Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And we're back. You're tuned in to Take My Advice. I'm Not Using It, Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, NBC News Radio, AM 1050, FM 102.3, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, Spreaker, Amazon Music, Audible, and more. Why? Because I want the maximum splatter zone possible for this show about hope and happiness. Thank you for continuing to tune in. Thank you for making me the number 1 8 a.m. show in the Inland Empire on the number 1 talk news station in the IE. And now, without further ado, we're back with Gerard Powell answering the age-old question, does money bring you happiness? And if not, what does? Enjoy.
And if you've just tuned in and you're listening to someone and wondering who's on the air with me today on Take My Advice, I'm Not Using It, Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, and you're wondering how someone with 26 cars and gazillions of dollars in the bank could be putting a gun in his mouth every other day, you need to stay right here because Gerard Powell is here sharing with us right now his history and his story. So you go from troubled youth to millionaire twice over,
Yes.
and suicidal. So
Yep.
so let me just sit with that for a second, because I know people who don't have a gazillion dollars are wondering, okay, there's definitely something wrong with you, because if I had that kind of money, I would be happy. So we have someone here, and last week on my tax show, Andrew talked about the clients he had that had a lot of money, and I asked him, was there a correlation between money and happiness? And he said, no. Just because you have a gazillion dollars, you're not. And so you're proving, nice segue today, you're proving that Money does not buy happiness. Now, you may say that's different for you, but I got to tell you that I've worked with thousands and thousands of people doing life balance coaching, and many of my clients make upwards of $4 or $5 million a year. And I will tell you that they don't come to me because they're happy. So there's listen up. Not saying that money is bad. I love money because with money I can do a lot of creative things. But if you have a lot of money and you don't, help me finish that sentence. Why were you not happy?
I wasn't happy. Money is the big magnifier. If you're unhappy and you get money, it magnifies it. If you're happy and get money, it magnifies it. If you're a jerk and you get money, it magnifies it.
You're jerkier? I've never heard
money, it magnifies it.
Wow.
It's just the truth. And it magnified my sadness because it pointed to the void. Every time I would look around, and I had friends that were middle-class rich people. They're like $2 million a year people. And they'd be much happier than me. And they'd look at me and think, he sits on all this money, and look at his family. He has beautiful kids, and he has a beautiful wife, and he leads this life. And I was in such pain. I was in such pain because it didn't make sense. I looked at myself and went, what the hell's wrong with you?
Right.
Because everybody else is saying that I should be, and they look at me like, you must be the happiest guy in the world.
You should
and
be.
I was barely hanging on to life.
Wow.
And so what was interesting, and now since then, there's all kinds of studies that show in the United States what percentage of your happiness meter is attributable to money. And it's such a slight percentage, but nobody knew it. Like when I never heard of those studies, I was just told rich people are happy.
Right.
That's what I thought.
Right.
So,
There's let me interrupt for 1 second because there's a really interesting Fortune magazine statistic that I use when I speak, which is Americans are, let's see, it was 75% more affluent now in America than we were 50 years ago. So 75% of us are more affluent than we were 50 years ago. And yet we are at an all-time high, like over 86% of life dissatisfaction. Interesting. So there's another statistic that just says if we have more money, and I love the way you said it's a magnifier. So if you're miserable and you have a lot of money, you're more miserable. I love that. Thank you. I'm stealing that, by the way. Okay, so here you are. You're miserable, and then what happened?
I had a real big house, like a 20,000 square foot house in Pennsylvania, and I had a bar that was about 5,000 square feet, and I was in my bar, and I was doing the stick of Demerol, and I managed to hide it from my kids for forever. And my one son came down the elevator, and I didn't hear the ding, and he walked into the bar, and I was laying on the couch, and I looked up, and he saw the syringe, and I saw the look in his face, and I said, that's it. And then the next minute, one of these TV ads came on for a rehab center in California, in Malibu, and I called my pilot. Before I even called the rehab center, I called my pilot and I said, tomorrow I'm going to, and I don't know where we're going to land, but we're going to land somewhere. and then I called the rehab center and said, hey, I'm coming, and that's what started
the journey back to you.
For me, that's what started it. Mm-hmm. And
so you went to the rehab center, and I love this part of the story. This is how you found my brother. So go ahead.
So I went to the rehab center, and I actually was running out of fuel in Salinas, Kansas, and I ran out of drugs too. So the pilot put down in Salinas, and I'm like, I walked up to the lady at the desk in the private terminal, and like she's impeccably dressed and everything, and I asked her for heroin, and she called the cops, and I'm like, I watched her call the cops, and I'm like, okay, back in the plane, and we just got out of there. It was terrible, and we stopped and I think we got gas in in another town in Iowa, I forget where, or in Iowa, I think we got cast. So like this whole thing happened. I land in thinking I'm supposed to go to this rehab, and I end up getting waylaid for a couple of days and going on a bender in Malibu, and then they finally come and get me from the rehab. They put me in the rehab, and I'm there a couple of weeks, and this is a $100,000 a month place, and I'm like,
$100,000 a month.
yeah, it was an expensive place.
Yeah.
It was the most expensive one in the world at the time. And I'm like, yeah, I get it. I'm not supposed to do Demerol. I understand that. And they're like, on Sunday, I had a choice to go to the mall or go to this place called Agape. And I said, what is Agape? And one of the guys said, oh, it's like a church. And I said, okay, I'll go to the mall. And I went to the mall. And finally, I said, I'm sick of this mall. Let's go to Agape. And I walked in there, and I heard this guy talking, and I wasn't even sure if I liked it. But it struck hard. Catholic at the time, born in Catholic schools, Catholic life, everything.
Right.
So I hear this thing, but anyway, I wanted to keep going back because this guy talked in a way that I never heard before. So I went back every Sunday while I was in rehab. And one of the last Sundays, I'm like, I want to meet this guy. So, I have tricks of how to meet people and stuff. So I ended up meeting him, and I went to lunch with him, I think, or breakfast with him or something. And we got along, and I immediately liked him because he's one of the most likable guys you'll ever meet, right? And I said, okay, when I got out of rehab, I said, I'm going to stay in California because I want to hear more of what this guy has to say. And he gave a Reverend, he assigned her to me, Reverend Kathleen McNamara, and I had her a couple times a week, and then I was in therapy a couple times a week with Dr. Jeff McNary, this other wonderful doctor, and this went on for 4 or 5 years, and I got better, but I still had a problem with drinking. I wasn't doing any more Demerol, never did it again, but I still had a problem with drinking, and my problem would showcase itself with women. So I would have like many girlfriends and this kind of thing. And,
that's why we never dated.
So I learned all these metaphysical things, but I heard them, but I didn't feel them. So I was in the Philippines on vacation, and a friend of mine's a shaman from Greenpoint, Brooklyn. And she saw on Facebook that I was in the Philippines, and she was going to a no-speak retreat in Manila. And she said, hey, Jerry, I'm coming through. I was in this island called Boracay. She said, let me stop in and visit with you for a couple days on my way through. And I said, absolutely, because she's a wonderful woman and always wanted to help me. And she said, listen, I've watched you on your journey. She's somebody who wanted to date me but thought I was too crazy. She said, I've watched your journey, and I've spared myself from your grasp. I've managed to elude, the grip of death, and I stayed away from you. But if you could ever fix yourself, you'd be a great guy to date. Da 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 da. And she said, a friend of mine went to Costa Rica and did plant medicine, and it fixed him. But I doubt you would do it because it would be uncomfortable for you. And that
did it. Yeah.
That made me mad, and I wanted to man up, and so I went down. I did this plant medicine, and during my experience at that night, I all of a sudden I got it, and I got shot out of the universe, and I looked back and I saw life things that happened to me as a child, that situation with women, and it was like I got molested by my father, but I never knew it. But I watched a video of it on this plant medicine, and I was like, that explains everything. I wasn't upset. I was like, thank God. I thought it was me.
Right.
I thought that it was me, but this happened to me and made me this way.
Okay,
And-
hold on. We skipped a little on the video, so I want to make sure my listeners got that very important part of the story. So you took the plant medicine and you had a little bit of an out-of-body experience, and you watched the video of your childhood where you realized you had been molested that you didn't really know, correct?
Yeah,
And
I watched in 3D, Technicolor,
Wow.
even down to the stains on the carpet. I haven't seen this house in 40 years.
Wow.
And the stains that were there was just live. And then I got to see my father, who was passed, and I said, Dad, this didn't happen to me. He said, yeah, it did, and it happened to him too.
Oh,
so
wow.
this was something that went in
your
my
family, and the family
just-
dysfunction,
just crazy.
which we all have.
But I wasn't upset.
Mm-hmm.
I was thrilled. And then because it explained the crazy.
Right.
And what's sad is most people that have had something like that happen,
Mm-hmm.
and all children have had a traumatic experience that made them separate from themselves, they just don't remember it.
Right,
but
right,
some children, it's being left at the mall for 20 minutes longer than, but everybody has this thing that separates them.
There's actually science and statistics that support what you're saying, that 7 out of 10 of us have 7, like not like 2, like 7 out of 10 of us have grown up in dysfunctional homes. And it's, not to blame parents, because it's a family thing. It's an ancestral thing. It's like, I didn't, my family, I went through quite a bit when I was young and didn't realize until I was grasping the truth of what happened to me that, my mom had it even worse. So I tell my kids all the time, my only job was to do better than my mom did, and your only job is to do better than me, because it's just 7 out of 10. Oprah says it's 8 out of 10. So that's, that's norm. That's not the aberration. So I think what you're saying is absolutely, I'm going to jump on your choir here, which is it's important to acknowledge the pain that we all have, most of us, the majority of us have had in the past, but not to marinate. And what sounds like the unseen, unfelt, unacknowledged pain from your childhood was living through you in this ease with life, that what led you to the Demerol or the women or the alcohol, whatever it was, to fill what I call that friendly universe-based hole, or if I'm going to drop the G bomb, the God-shaped hole. Nothing can fill that lack until we have that aha experience or that spiritual, zap that goes, oh wait, I am not what I went through, which is what you went through, right?
True.
Yeah.
And the funniest thing, or the thing that else that I saw, after I saw that, the moon actually gave me a new heart. It's a funny story, but she did. I put the heart in me, and then I asked her how the universe worked, and it mimicked exactly the teachings that I learned, the non-Catholic teachings that I learned. And listen, if it was going to pick something, you have 42 years of Catholicism or a few years of metaphysics. It was going to pick the Catholic if it was just out of memory, but it picked the truth. And then when I got back and I saw the truth, the next day I was a different guy. I knew that there was only love in the universe, and it's the glue that holds everything together. When I was shot out and I looked back and I saw that every single thing is connected to this. So when I am inappropriate to this woman, I'm actually being inappropriate to myself. I never got that. I heard the words, but I never got it. And if I shortchange this guy at the grocery store, I'm shortchanging me. And so the whole thing, I got it. And then on my way back into my body, this was a 5-hour deal. On the way back into my body, it told me to go and take what I learned and then to bring it to people. So what I did is 2 weeks later, I was back in Costa Rica, and I started looking for a resort to put all of the things that really made a significant difference in me, which were like meditation, good food, Michael Beckwith's programs, plant medicine, yoga, massage, all the creature comforts in a very high-end resort. So I bought a place from the JW Marriott people, and I bought a nice place and decided to do this thing and to make it my life's mission because, I had enough, I wasn't a rich guy, but I had enough money to make it for my statistical life expectancy plus 20 years, so living nice. So like I was good to go. I didn't have to do anything.
Yeah.
And I chose to do this because what's so funny is that when you walk down the street and everybody's outside is smiling, I know that 80 to 90% of their insides are dying. And to see these people who are in this quiet pain, it's a quiet pain. And I just wanted to be able to create a place where they could come in and a week later leave, because with me, I had to do all these things one at a time. I had to learn about meditation, learn about yoga, learn about food, learn about this, learn about that. And they were in sequence, not parallel. And to do them all in one place in parallel, it just has this thing where people by their third day are broken down, crying, and they leave a different person. And this is like the greatest gift that anybody could ever give me. Is actually the ability to help these people that need this help. That's the gift of the thing.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
I didn't get anything. I just got rid of some things that were clogging my view or clogging my ability to do it. You know?
Yes.
And it's still listen. This is no 100% slam dunk. You're fixed forever. This is still a process. It's just a real process. But if you look at I've never been happier in my whole life. There's never a day that I cashed a check where I was anywhere near this kind of my normal set point now is a happiness that I've never even known in my heights before.
Right.
So,
even with the 26 cars and the how many planes and all that stuff, you were not. Well, I noticed a difference because I met you that I forgot about was 4 years ago, right? 5 years ago.
Yeah.
It was as long, maybe 6 years ago.
Probably.
Gosh, 6 years ago, and you are a different person. That's why I didn't even recognize you.
I know.
That's
People
the biggest difference. It's like it wasn't my fault. It wasn't my memory. You actually look completely different. And so, I get to go work there. But for any of you who want a different kind of vacation. I mean, this is something, and I know a lot of people who are not happy, and vacations are they live for their vacations, and vacations are 2 weeks a year, or they live for their weekend. That's 2 days a week. So 5 days you're miserable, and 2 days you're sort of happy, and you got to ramp in and ramp out. So really, you're only happy for maybe a day out of 7, or happy for 2 weeks out of a year. And I have to be honest with you, my clients that say they live for their vacations, they don't even take vacations, or if they take the vacations, they're sitting by the pool with their day timer, mapping out what they're going to do next year. They're not even there. So that's why this was, when my big brother asked me to have you on and I investigated, I'm like, wow, this is truly a good start point for anyone who is unhappy. Are you unhappy? If you're happy, let your face know. If you're not happy, you might want to check this out.
I find another interesting point too is that a lot of people they go through life and be wrong with them. They're like, I don't know why I'm different. I don't know why I'm the only one unhappy. I don't know if you have any of those things that are just on the surface or just below the surface, that kind of feeling. It's such a great that's a great person who is ideal for this place, because that getting just a little bit in that changes everything. It changes everything. And a lot of times, you could be in Orange County and get the best book God ever wrote on how to get to yourself. And you run home from work and you're putting, you're turning over the food in the frying pan and you're reading the book. You're not going to get it that way.
Right.
I mean, you can miracles occur,
Yeah.
but boy, it's hard. But when you're here and there's nothing for you to do other than face yourself,
Right.
boy, it's a great time.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Good.
Great
That's
time.
great. And there are a lot of people. It's that default place. You know, you're miserable. You have like an underlying feeling of misery, and it's, you know, I did career day this last week. Hi to all my new warping young minds students at LaSalle High School. I've done career day for 13 years because I love to sit and look at students in the eye and say, you can accomplish anything and everything you want to in your life if you put your heart, mind, and soul to it. And JJ Bristow, my 10th grade math teacher, told me that, and I know that it's my job. And one of the reasons why I'm so shy, sarcasm is another service I offer. One of the reasons why I have this platform to speak from, because that voice, that stupid voice that says, you're not good enough, you're not worthy, you'll never be enough, you'll never make up for the crap that you did, you'll never be happy. That is a lie. That is wrong. That is not the truth. And yet, we don't know that, because if we have role models or non-role models or grow up in a home where we don't have someone saying that, we don't know the truth of who we are. And so it is so important, if you don't feel like you are happy 88% of the time and you're about to book yourself into a vacation, look into this beautiful place that Gerard has provided for people to go and experience what has worked for him. Any last, or for usually at the end of the show, I ask, is there any people that you would like to give a love, peace shout out to who have helped support you in this journey that you have?
Absolutely. Like the Dr. Jeff McNary, who's saved my life, Reverend Beckwith, who saved my life, and Reverend McNamara, who saved my life. Those are my, my holy trinity of life saving. They're them, and I appreciate them greatly.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And how do we find out? I guess rhythmia.com.
Yeah, Rhythmia Life Advancement Center.
Okay.
You can just either rhythmia.com or Rhythmia Life Advancement Center. If you just Google Rhythmia, RYTHMIA, you're going to get us, and I'd love to see you here. And I've made a commitment to myself to be here at the center instead of in California, and make sure that everybody has the experience they came for.
Absolutely. So I'll let you listeners know when I'm going to be there. So if you'd like to come and take balanced Tai Chi Gong while you're experiencing, maybe we'll do it before the colonics. Well, I don't know. We'll figure out the order that between answers you and the colonics. But it's been a pleasure and a joy to have you. Now, the one thing that I know, my sister, my GMA, Wendy, who's listening, hi Wendy, ni hao, she was instrumental in having you on here. She wanted you to comment about baggage and emotional and physical baggage that people bring to.
It's interesting. Like when I look at that, and I just sort of envision people coming, like people have this vision that they're going to come here and like walk into a store and then leave with something. And really what they're doing is they're coming in with all their luggage and they're dropping it here. It's the exact reverse of what people, like, they're not coming here to get something, they're coming here to get rid of something. And that's the truth. It's really true.
Very powerful. Dropping your emotional baggage.
Yes.
That reminds me of a saying, I don't mind dating a guy that has emotional baggage as long as it's just carry-on size. But I guess I need to meet someone who's leaving your place, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Gerard, for coming and visiting with me.
Well, I hope you have something to think about. You may not give up your quest for making oodles of money, but I can tell you from personal experience, from both my clients that I mentioned as well as my own, that happiness is an inside-out job. It is a choice. And that is it for show number 623. Yes, sometimes it feels like 623, but I'm always having fun, and I hope you are too. This is Dr. Marissa reporting live from her living room during the pandemic, reminding you that it's all about balance, peace in, peace out, world peace through inner peace. Now go forth and multiply the peace that you are, and have the best day ever. See you tomorrow.